Also, whether you're Hindu or whether you're Christian, it is important to know who Muhammad was. May God's peace and blessings be upon him. You need to be clear that to become a Muslim, you are not giving up the worship of Jesus for the worship of Muhammad, or the worship of Shiva and Vishnu for the worship of Muhammad. You have to be clear that Muhammad in Islam, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, is not an object of worship. He is not to be worshipped. He is only a messenger of God. Like all the other messengers whom God sent to humankind, he brought the message of God to mankind, humankind. This is his position in Islam. We have to be clear on that. And finally, in terms of our knowledge base for accepting Islam, we should have a clear understanding of what Islam is. At least the basics. We may not have all the details, but you know that Islam begins with a declaration of faith. That you are required upon becoming a Muslim to pray 5 times a day. That you are also required as a Muslim to fast 1 month every year, the month of Ramadan. And that you are required to give from your surplus wealth every year 2.5% to the poor, not to the church or to the temple, to the mosque. It's given to the poor. It's called zakat. Well, you should be aware of that. And also that we are encouraged once in a lifetime to make Hajj, pilgrimage to Makkah. These are the basic principles or forms of worship that every Muslim has as an obligation to do in his or her lifetime. You should be aware of what these entail. But you can know, without knowing all of the details of exactly how we pray, or exactly what we do on the pilgrimage, or exactly the details of fasting, etc., at least you should know that all of these principles are prescribed for us in order that we have the best possible moral character. That the goal of all of these, behind each and every act, religious act, act of worship, etc., behind it all is moral character, good moral character. Because Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, had himself said, I was only sent to perfect for you the highest of moral character traits. So everything that Islam asks you to do, it is about making you a better person morally. And that's what you should know is behind all of the various principles of Islam. So if you have that knowledge base, this is clear to you, then the next thing that you have to be clear on is your intention. That for this entrance into Islam to be real, valid, accepted by God, and truly a means of changing your life, etc., it should be based on sincerity. You should be sincere in your decision. So, if it is just a matter that you've taken a course, and at the end of the course you're expected to accept Islam, and so you're just going to go ahead because that was the course, I would say, no, don't do it now. Until you are yourself convinced in your heart, you feel this is the right thing. Not that you won't have doubts, because of course, the forces of evil, the forces of misguidance, satanic forces, etc., these things will be there to discourage you, to stop you from making the step. But if you in your heart do feel that this is the right thing, then you go ahead. If it is a matter of marriage, you want to marry a Muslim girl or a Muslim boy, that's why you're converting, then I would say don't do it. This is not for you. Become a Muslim because you are convinced from the knowledge that you have been exposed to that Islam is the right way. To do it just because you want to get married, this is a big mistake. It is not something pleasing to God, and it will only create problems for you in the future if you're not sincere about this. So my advice to you is don't do it simply for marriage. Yes, love is powerful and love blinds and all these other things, but in the end, it's not going to make up for the problems that are going to come if you are becoming a Muslim without having a clear understanding, and having accepted that understanding, you are convinced that this is the right and true way of life for yourself. Similarly, if it is for a job, if you're in a job situation where your manager or your person in charge of the household that you're working for or whatever, is keen on you becoming Muslim. Why? Because they want to go to Mecca or they want to do something and they need you to be a Muslim to be able to do it. Don't do it. Don't do it for your job. Don't. It is better not. Again, it's the wrong reason. Be a Muslim, become a Muslim because you know that Islam is the right way. I know it might seem, well, okay, if I do it, I'm going to get a better pay, I'm going to get an increase in salary. These are all the potential material benefits from it all. But in the end, know that because you're doing something displeasing to God, all these so-called benefits that you see now will dissipate. They will go away. They will not bring you real happiness. So my advice is find out about the true teachings of Islam and accept it because you really believe in it and not for a job situation.